we're going to talk about our favorite video games of this year. And I'm going to start first because this game came out at the beginning of the year. I feel like sometimes a lot of people forgot about it.
There's a couple you mentioned that we forgot about, yeah.
But this one specifically was kind of a shadow drop announcement when Xbox had their showcase in January. It came out like, hey, there's this game from Tango Gameworks, and it's out now called Hi-Fi Rush. And obviously Tango Gameworks, they did Tokyo, Ghostwire Tokyo. I think they had something to do with Evil Within. I think they had something to do with that. So, I mean, they have been predominantly a horror-focused developer. And they came out with this Hi-Fi Rush game, which was a rhythm-based, like, action-adventure story with, like, awesome art, like anime art. And everyone saw it, like, oh, this is different for them. And, dude, playing that game, it was a fucking incredible experience with an exhilarating gameplay loop, amazing animation and artwork, and just a fucking killer soundtrack to play to.
Absolutely.
I mean, really, it was just, I keep forgetting about the game. I heard it was good from the 7 people who played it. Hey, man, and I'm happy to say I'm one of them. I mean, it was a stellar experience. Like, it was really good. The voice work was phenomenal. The animation was great.
Yeah.
And it was just a joy to play. It was difficult when you ramped it up. It was difficult. But if you didn't play it on the hardest, most difficult setting, it was a challenge, but it was fun. It's one of those few games where, like, they could have went full souls and made it, rage-inducing. And you could get that if you bumped it up. But for the most part, it was challenging, really fucking fun, and just a pleasure to play, like, out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I think I got through the first level. I was really enjoying it, but like this year has been such a chaotic year for me to be able to hunker down and play games. And I can tell you, I definitely enjoyed it as well too. But you definitely.
I mean, it was awesome. I mean, what a way to start the year, and especially for Game Pass. I mean, that was a monster fucking like showing for Game Pass. They dropped. I mean, obviously everybody knew at the time, we got Redfall and we got Starfield coming up. It's a big year for Game Pass. But then they lead off with this Hi-Fi Rush, which was just a fucking awesome experience.
Well, and to be fair too, I think it's also good to point out in a market where sometimes we oversaturate with the same rinse and repeat kind of games.
Yeah.
To have something drop out of nowhere, be good, and
be such
different.
A departure from what our developers used to, like branching out and doing something completely different.
And for all intents and purposes, I mean, it won an award or two, I think, at the Game Awards as well too.
Oh God, was it best soundtrack or?
But
it did win an award.
It was a tough year, anyways. But like, I mean, still. But the point is that to be able to come out and do that out of nowhere and be successfully, fuck.
I mean, that was a well-received game, and people loved the 7 people who played it. They really, really enjoyed it. But that's my first choice for one of my favorite games of this year so far, Tom.
Do you want to go through your list, or do you want me to?
I mean, let's go back and forth. Do your 3, and then obviously you've got a couple more that we can both speak on.
Yeah, I want a little bit more on. So I'm going to say the elephant in the room that we all know somebody's going to say, even though I'm having a love-hate relationship with this game. I've had to, and I'll talk about it here in a moment, but Baldur's Gate 3 certainly is definitely one of my favorite games this year. It comes near and dear to, one of the greatest games of all time, D&D. It's sometimes a tough game. Sometimes you find yourself like, what the fuck do I do? Where am I going? You have to think outside the box, and sometimes, like, when you're playing a game, you just want to be able to move forward, and you find that this is a game that doesn't always allow you to do that. But what I did was I reset myself after the Game Awards and said, okay, I'm going to go back X amount of saves, and I'm going to leave the area I'm at. And
you left the
Underdark. I left the Underdark, and I went up, and that's where I did the hag, the troll, the swamp and everything, and get some more experience, get some more. So and the game now moving forward. Now I've got a different direction that I'm going in as well too, but I can go back to that direction.
Yes.
So I'm doing that. All things are good and gravy, and some good stuff is coming out. So, it's great. Yeah, that's why I'm so into it, because it's the characters and the storytelling that's got me hooked. So.
I want Drastin. I know he's in the chat. He just said it's a storytelling though. I want Drastin to look at an update that came out for that game recently that is focused specifically on multiplayer and makes it kind of set up more like a more traditional D&D session. I think they added some features to it. I would really like him to look into that if he can read up on it and find out what it's like, because I think Carl's mentioned this too, that could be a fun game to stream if they have in fact made it a little bit more desk or a tabletop like look to it. And it could be cool. It could be fun to stream that game as a group.
Yeah, because let's say we take the characters that we build and we also role play with them too.
Yes. I mean, I would be down with that. I think that could be very dangerous.
Ooh, that could be a good time.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. Is that game where they go input from R.A. Salvatore?
So, I don't know if Salvatore had a hand with this one, but he has been the big one that he had input on was Kingdoms of Amalur, which came out like almost a decade ago and had an HD remake originally as well too. And Todd McFarlane did the actual artwork for it. So that was the big one, Josie. If you're not playing that, I'm actually like probably about halfway through that, and I'm like 100 hours into it. It's massive. That's another backlog I need to finish. I played that game.
Is that the Kurt Schilling game?
The
one the Kurt Schilling. I think he was.
Yes.
One. Yeah.
I think that was
that one.
Massive fucking game. Great fucking game. Like, great fucking game. So, but yeah, he had a hand in that for sure.
Yeah. So I'm playing that as well. I think we actually might be around the same spot now.
I think we might be. Yeah. Now that I'm out of the Underdark, like I'm still gonna go use that pathway because I know you said
I haven't gone either way yet. I'm doing what you're doing. I'm going through the swamp trying to rank. I'm trying to get to level 5 before I go fuck around.
There's
in one
a
of those
small
spots.
like city or like a small town that I'm almost at now that I'm actually about to head into.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I came across some things that were going on. So my plan is eventually, instead of taking that mountain pass that you were going to do, I'm going to use the Underdark and we can compare our experiences.
That's one thing I've always liked about it, man. I mean, just the last show we did before we went live, we're sitting there talking. I mean, the differences. It's just I was just like, God damn, is there really that much different stuff going on?
Carla, or you don't know about Carla? She's Bae.
I'm gonna try to find her because I know she's a warrior, right?
Bae.
Or wait, is she a warrior or what
barbarian.
is she? Okay.
Yeah,
He just wants to fuck her, and I mean, I'm just asking if she's a warrior.
I'm just saying, she's Bae.
Anywho, Underdark is the best so far. See, I wanted to do the Underdark, but I was like, man, I don't know if I should go to the mountain pass. But if I get to level 5 and I don't get fucking, jail sex when I walk into the Underdark, then I'd be content with that. But I heard the Underdark is very challenging.
Can be.
Yeah,
definitely found a beholder.
When you're underpowered, yes, absolutely.
Killed it, at least.
All right, back to myself. I'm going to go with Hogwarts Legacy. I went into this game only with like little to basically no experience with anything fucking Harry Potter. Okay, none whatsoever. I was like, I'm going to hop into this and just see what it's all about. And dude, this was a better than expected story that really like just continues to build up and evolve throughout the game itself. And that final act is fucking dope. There are some incredible battles that you will get into. There's some awesome revelations that are fucking sweet. This was a really dope ass, well done game. The presentation was phenomenal. It had gorgeous videos, gorgeous audio. I mean, the soundtrack was amazing. It was a world that I love to explore. It was a really well done game. And then the combat, the magic combat, you would think it was just like, magic buttons, but there's a fair amount of synergy and depth to that combat when you're trying out the different spells and working them together off one another. It's a lot of fun to play. There's some depth to that combat, like way more than I was expecting.
Cool.
But I mean, that game really had its hooks in me. And like I said, once you get to that final act and the story is really picking up, it's fucking awesome.
Now that is a game I actually just recently finally remembered to put in my wish list. Some of these games I'm just waiting for those.
It's so good.
There's some really great sales right now on both systems.
Yeah, the holiday sales just kicked off.
They're fucking gnarly, but that is definitely one that I want to get to, that I wanted to play. That like when I was going through my list of games this year, that I was like, fuck, that's like one of the biggest elusive ones that I didn't get a chance to play because it was not a good time. Throughout the year to be able to play that. So that is definitely high on my list. And anybody I know that played it absolutely had nothing but great things to say. Like, we're actually...
Unless you're playing on the Switch version.
Wow.
And then it's fucking terrible.
But, I mean, like, again, you haven't had any Harry Potter content in a while. You know? I mean, the like I said, everybody that was playing it said the gameplay was amazing. Like, to be able to come out of nowhere and do what they did, like, goddamn, all right.
I mean, it was just such a cool world to explore, man. Yeah. There was so much shit to discover throughout, and the different towns you could go to, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was really engaging. I was really hooked into it when it came out.
Someday I'll get to it.
I hope so. I think you'll like it.
Someday. The next one I think is pretty obvious for us. Pretty obvious, at least for me, especially with Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
Even though justly so didn't do great at the Game Awards because of the
so that's wild to me. It got blanked.
that means that means that we fucking won then, because it was a great year for games, and if a game like Spidey 2 can't pull awards because of what it's up against,
Right.
that says leaps and bounds. It was a great story, great casting, everything about it, how they moved the story along, how they presented their version of Venom in that story. Can't say enough good things about it. Loved it. It was great. It was IGN's GOTY. Well, I have a here's the thing about me and IGN. I don't like anything that they do. I actually stopped sharing. I think I even stopped following some of their stuff. They're too. What I've noticed about IGN, and this is going to be brief, is that they sometimes will take
3 hours later.
They'll take the they take the opposite of where everybody else is feeling, I think, to get clicks, and I don't always buy that. They'll put somebody that hates RPGs on like a Final Fantasy review.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get that shit. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't agree with their loves or hates with anything. I think it's all bullshit. I don't get into it. So
what's wild to me is a lot of their staff sit there and denounce the console wars and try to make people feel stupid for engaging in it. But then in the next breath, they'll fucking post an article about why it's like
weird.
Sony, or why Microsoft is shitty, and like basically inciting fucking console wars. It's like, you guys really are just a bunch of fucking ghouls sometimes.
And I like love or hate at this point with me when it comes to like Game Informer. At one time, I don't know anymore because I don't really deal with all that shit anymore because they're owned by GameStop. Game Informer's like preview articles and just articles written prior to they started doing a review, like before you got to the back of the book, that was some of the best content to read, because I felt like those guys really,
I think they still do a good job.
They really did a great job of like diving into what I wanted to know, which is just talking about the game and not really worrying so much about the pros and cons and the rating.
I also like Eurogamer. I think Eurogamer's
really pretty good as well too. Yep. So I digress on that as well too. But yeah, I can't handle IGN, so that's really funny. They gave Spidey its Game of the Year. But yeah, Spider-Man 2 did a lot of great things for me. I just it's one of the few. I stopped playing Baldur's Gate 3 to pause just for this game, beat it, and moved on, and had a great time doing it. And I'll if Spider-Man's on it, I'm always going to be excited.
You won't get too deep into it because there's still a lot of stuff going out there. But shout out to Insomniac. They're having kind of a rough go at it right now. They had a ransomware attack about a week or so ago.
Joe, do you need to?
Where some hackers, demanded $2 million that they were going to release a bunch of shit that they had stolen from Insomniac, and they obviously they didn't get paid. And I think it was yesterday or the day before they released 1.7 terabytes of information, a lot of game assets, a lot of videos. Unfortunately, also a lot of developer addresses, and I mean that's like, shitty. Look, man, I'm not going to condone anything a fucking hacker does in this situation. If you want to release a game's pre-alpha videos and you want to release a bunch of story plot points or anything because you didn't get paid $2 million, whatever, I'm not going to read that shit. But when you start posting the addresses of developers, people working on the game, especially this close to the holidays, even worse yet, you're a fucking scumbag. Yeah. You're a piece of shit, and you deserve whatever comes your way, up to and including death. And yeah, I'll say I don't care. I don't care. Oh, he just wished death on him? I didn't wish on him. I'm just not going to feel bad if something really bad happens to him. But if you sit there and you release people's addresses when they have kids, you're a piece of shit, and you deserve whatever comes your way.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck how gruesome it is either.
I think that the nice thing that I've seen about all that is that the industry as a whole, I mean, degrees of shades of gray how we consider competitors, right? But like everybody's been pretty supportive of the situation because of things like that. Like they release addresses and crazy shit and a lot of gameplay of certain things as well too. That's whole wild and good on Sony and Insomniac for not negotiating with those terrorists on that. Like they didn't pay him.
I mean, they really couldn't, because then you're just getting. I mean, obviously, no.
Well, then you up the bar.
Say what you will about Sony's security; they've had issues in the past.
A lot of that.
But yeah, if you pay that $2 million, you're going to get it every fucking week. But there was some wild shit not related to Wolverine. I tried to avoid a lot of the Wolverine stuff. I saw some of the videos I came across. This game's in pre-alpha. I don't give a fuck what it looks like. There were leaks of Grand Theft Auto 6 a year or so ago in pre-alpha. And everyone was like, oh, this looks fucking terrible. Then they released a trailer for the game and like, oh, it looks fucking amazing. It looks awesome. I don't give a fuck about the videos. But the stuff that I thought was interesting, man, is we saw Insomniac's roadmap of games for the next 10 years into 2030. I mean, we saw that they were working on X-Men games. We know that they're working on another Ratchet game. I mean, there's a Venom expansion coming out next year, apparently, that's going to be tied to Spider-Man 2. I mean, there is some wild shit that got released. We found out that Insomniac, to this point, has made $567 on Sunset Overdrive. They've only made $567 profit on Sunset Overdrive.
It's fucking wild.
It's crazy. I mean, we saw a lot of like financial numbers of how well games have performed. We know that Guerrilla Games is working on something called Hunter's Gathering, which sounds a lot like the online Horizon game. So they're probably working on a Monster Hunter style game based in the Horizon universe, which I think makes total fucking sense considering what you're doing in Horizon, taking
sense.
all parts of dinosaurs and whatnot, of the robots. But I mean, it is a very substantial leak. But yeah, when you start going at developers and their addresses and their livelihood, you're a fucking piece of shit. And I hope the worst is it hits you hard, because that's fucking gross. But anyways, I digress. We could talk about that more, but I don't want to, because I don't want to give them the attention that they're seeking. All right, Tom, my third game that I really enjoyed this year, and I know there was a big deal about this being on for Game of the Year.
Yep.
But I had never played Resident Evil 4 before. I had never played it. That's the one game that I just, what was it, on the Wii? Or no, the GameCube. Never had a GameCube. So I never got to play Resident Evil 4. And I know they released it on other ones and on other systems at that point, but I had never gotten around to it. And finally, when the remake came out, I've been enjoying the remake so far. Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, even though it was super short. I was like, you know what? I'm going to play Resident Evil 4. Finally going to play that game. That game was fucking awesome.
4 is what reinvented that series once again.
I agree, Carlos. It should not have been on the list, but for somebody who hasn't played it yet, I thought it was fucking sweet. The story was amazing. The presentation, it looked beautiful. It ran beautiful. The combat was obviously, it wasn't quite like Resident Evil 5 combat, but it was very taut, very intense, especially in like close quarters and shit like that. I thought it was a really fucking awesome game, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I finally got to play it. So it is one of my favorite games of this year, even though I know it's been out for 12. I mean, when did that come out?
Came out in 2003.
Oh, yeah. So 20 years. I mean, I'm a little behind on that one, but overall, I thought it was fucking an amazing game.
2003?
It was awesome. It was one of the best experiences I've had this year, and it's probably my favorite Resident Evil game, even though I feel like Village was really good.
Yeah,
Village was fucking awesome.
Village gets a lot of love.
Great, Tone. You.
Let's see. Next up on my list would be Jedi Survivor, of course. Did bigger, better what the original game did. I wish I'd have spent more time juicing some of those trophies and exploring more. But again, I was limited on time a lot this year, especially when this game came out. But I did enjoy, what I played of it as well too. It's a great game. I know they've had some great updates for, either like smoother resolution or whatever it is.
My understanding is they have fixed it completely. The performance mode works flawless.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
That's
performance
amazing.
Mode. So, really, really loved that game. I really enjoy what they've done with Cal Kestis and how it, kind of links into, I think, where they want to take some portions of Star Wars going forward, but more importantly, how it links back to their current run with like certain books and stuff like that with the High Republic, which is really, if you didn't read those books, that's your only other place to kind of be exposed to that. And I kind of like how they've threaded in with that as well too. So I loved the first one. 2005 really was that far out. Damn, that was near the end of the console cycle for that system then.
Man,
that's wild, because the Wii came out in North America in 2006. 2006 and the 360 dropped as well too. So damn, thanks, Cuddles. Good check on that.
Man.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think.
20 some years, man. That's
wild. Yeah. But yeah, no, Jedi Survivor was a fantastic game.
Loved it. I enjoyed it.
I know we probably won't do it. They'll probably keep him there, but I really want to see, Cal Kestis live action at some point.
Man, I feel like there's a way they could work him in.
I mean, we're seeing cartoons being turned into live action characters. Can we please,
I don't need. And the thing is, I don't need like a whole movie with them.
No,
or
be like a cameo or something,
like
whatever it is, and we'll see how it goes. You got to play with your balls a little bit before see where it goes.
No, I agree. I thought that was it was a really good game. It was a lot of fun. It was challenging. And yeah, I liked the story. I know you were a little bit indifferent about the story in some ways. where I was a little bit more like into. I was like, okay, cool, but only because I don't have a lot of the.
It was really just like the main protagonist that ended up being the main protagonist. I'm like,
Oh, the antagonist? You mean the bad guy?
did I say it wrong?
You said protagonist, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Antagonist. Yeah, I just all of a sudden he's like this super power player. I'm like, oh, this guy's whoa, fucking, am I fighting Darth Vader or a fucking random guy with jetpack? So,
dude, that Vader battle in that game drove me fucking bonkers.
Oh yeah, you had an issue with that.
I had major issues. Like I almost killed my controller.
Force is weak.
The Force is limp with this one. Where does Skull Island rank on your list? It doesn't rank anywhere on my list. It's
right.
not even on a list.
It's on his, yeah, if he wrote that list on a toilet paper piece, yeah, I'm sure.
Was it the worst of the year? I mean, I don't know, man. Like it was pretty bad. I mean, it's obviously really bad.
Yeah, it's worse than Redfall even.
But Quantum Error, I don't want to say it. Quantum Error was worse, but it was probably. I had low expectations with Kong. I was really hoping Quantum Error was gonna be good, so I feel like that one hits a little harder because it's fucking bad.
Well, because you said that Quantum Error, what they wanted to do with it, like the thought process.
The thought process is there. It's
right.
The execution is shit.
Maybe
from top
the
to bottom.
lack of money.
I mean, it's 4 people. It's a 4-person development studio.
Yeah. So,
but the way they presented the trailers and they talked, I was like, man, this looks fucking dope.
We still don't know when Pragmata's coming out.
I'm more interested in Abandoned by Blue Box.
No one says that out loud. No.
Man, when's the last time we got a Blue Box update?
You've heard the rumors, seen the rumors of what they think OD might actually be, right?
What?
They think that's actually the true PT successor. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that.
Oh, there are you need to check that out. So there are indications in that trailer people are breaking down and reflections in certain things that this might actually be PT pickup of that.
Really?
Yeah. I thought you saw that.
I did not see that. I did not see that. Interesting.
Yeah. So I actually did more games than Dude did. So I definitely had a couple more here that I thought were great this year. I did put Diablo 4 on there. Now, I know it was like a flash in the frying pan for a lot of people. Some people are still playing it. I didn't play it as much as I wanted to this year. But the thing about Diablos for me is that, one, every time I'm playing an isometric game like that, I'm having a fucking blast doing it.
Mm-hmm.
2, I know it's a game that, like, even though maybe I need to go back there, like, I beat the main story, but I need to, like, rank up more, maybe take part in the seasons, whatever it is, or just keep grinding the character higher levels out. I know that I'll come back to it. That's what I do, with Diablo games in general as well. And, hey, for at least a good moment, exactly, that's it. No other game had 40 people from different communities playing at the same time.
That's true.
And brought a lot of people together. So, I mean, you can't really
I'm trying to figure out, like, I don't know what it was, man. I just, like, once we hit that first season, like, I just felt like I had seen everything the game had to offer. Now, I mean, obviously, look, the seasons are different, but I feel like, I don't know if it's because of, like, how the way Destiny played out for me, because, like, as the seasons progress, especially this late in the game where it's at now, and I mean, I still see a lot of those complaints from a lot of active players in Destiny, is like, once the seasons change, they're just kind of like, I don't want to see their cardboard cutouts of previous seasons, but I just remember always playing Destiny, and when a new season came out, there was a new event or a new activity that was basically another version of a previous activity, and it was just like, you're losing me quick. It's just like, okay, this is kind of the same shit. Now, look, dungeons is one thing. We get a new dungeon, that's fucking awesome. My understanding is this latest dungeon that dropped for the game is fucking awesome, which is great to hear. But I don't know what it is about that where, like, you play in the same game and you get to a season, and I played a little bit of the first season that dropped with Diablo 4, and it just didn't really do anything for me. I was like, okay. And then I know there was a lot of folks that were, like, well ahead of me, and then people were on different time. I mean, that's just gaming in general. It's difficult to find time to like meet up with people and link up and shit like that. But, like, I don't know what it was. It just kind of dropped off for me. But I do know that people still play it and people still really enjoy it and they dig it. It just didn't resonate with me after the main story.
Yeah. It's just one of those games that's gonna be everlasting, at some point. There'll always be an end for something, right? But, like, It's one of those games that, like I said, like, there might be a Saturday where I got nothing to do and be like, maybe I'm gonna throw up some Diablo and play some Diablo. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's a fun game to play.
Yeah, it is. So, definitely, I just got to give love to those kind of games because those were some of the early games that made up my, gaming DNA. And honestly, with some of the early games that I actually did play on PC as well, too, which, PC is not something that I game on as often. So love to that as well. But the other game I have listed on here, actually for me, that I did put a lot of time into, I'm still not done with this either. But I'm probably about halfway through, I want to say, is Octopath Traveler 2 on the Switch. I mean, I play on Switch. I like those JRPG styles on the go because especially
it's a
that
really
the graphics
good
on
game, man.
It's a great
really
game.
Good.
Like I know Octopath Traveler 1 wasn't as well received as everything else, and I actually didn't finish that one either. And I enjoyed that as well too. But again, it was a time. It's just sometimes games were coming out so often back then. We were streaming a lot more on Mixer. I didn't have that kind of time. But Octopath Traveler 2, for all intents and purposes, is a game that I like to pick up every here and there and just grind out. And the character stories that they do with that, like, while it's not a traditional like setup of how Final Fantasy normally was in a different weird roundabout way, I do appreciate what they've done with Octopath Traveler, where your characters will intermingle and stuff like that. And some of the stories in them are really pretty fucking deep and dark. You know what I mean? So like I got a lot of love for that. So I think Octopath Traveler 2 was just one of those kind of things that has that old school gameplay that I love and the old school sprite look that I also love with a mix of that HD like kind of background.
The thing that I love about Octopath Traveler 2 is just how well written it is. The story arcs for the characters.
So good.
I mean, some of them aren't as good as the others, but there are a few that are just, but most of them are, like I said, very compelling.
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, this, for a game that is like so small in terms of like its presentation, the story is so fucking good. Like the characters are just so well written. You're just like, man, I really hope O-Girl can make it through and find her family, and I hope O-Boy can get redemption for his family's death. You're just like, it's so good.
Yeah, and not only that, but like they kind of did it with Bravely Default as well too. Is they kind of taken that old school turn-based strategy RPG, kind of sped it up a little bit, did some different things with it, and Octopath does something different with it as well too. The way you can stack certain abilities and like save attacks for other bigger attacks, because for all intents and purposes, there are sometimes you get into a boss battle in Octopath Traveler 2 and they're fucking hard.
Yeah.
Even Bravely Default was like that at times too. So you got to really be strategic and not blow your load too fucking early, because you got to be able to last till the end. So. You know what I'm saying? A little rubber band.
That's a tall order for this guy.
Exactly. 3 minutes. What's up? But no, they do a great job of it, and I appreciate that. In a day and age where like I'll be one of the few complaining about Final Fantasy 16 having combat that's like Devil May Cry, but be able to at least pick up Octopath Traveler 2 and enjoy those kind of old school gaming feel of yours.
So those are some of the games that really stood out to us this year. Obviously, there's games that we'd still love to play.
Tons of games.
I mean, our backlog is forever. It's never ending. It's a never-ending backlog. But we want to get you guys and girls' thoughts. Whether you're watching live right now, let us know in the comments. Or if you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments. Which games stood out to you?
Yeah.
Which ones had a profound impact on your gaming career that you were just like, God, this is one of the best games I ever played. Tell us why. Tell us which game.
Yeah.
Now, Tone, obviously, 2024 is coming up.
Right.
We know there's a lot of games coming up. There's also a lot of games we don't know about yet. We don't know much about the fall, which is typically when all the big games come out. But at the same time, I feel like over the last 10 years, it's no longer about the fall. I mean, everyone's releasing heavy hitters
now too.
all the time. Cuddle says, my top 3 is Diablo 4, Demonologist, and Fortnite. Yes, hey, man, Fortnite is one of those games that just continues to grow and evolve and has new content, finds ways to make the game different and more enjoyable.
Gotta respect it.
I think Fortnite is a fine choice for a top 3 because everyone fucking loves it, man. They always do. Epic just finds a way to add, whether it's a small wrinkle or a complete overhaul, they have a way of making Fortnite relevant and fun no matter what. Which system is better, Xbox or PlayStation?
I don't even like getting into that. I'll tell you this, Jeff. I play a lot of single player games. My ecosystem just kind of aligns with PlayStation, but honestly, even though I don't always get the value out of
Stray
Game
was
Pass,
awesome, Cherry.
Xbox has a great way for people to have exposure to a lot of games. Even though I do feel like not all those games are like AAA titles.
Commodore.
You're going to still have exposure to a lot of games in a library of games that you can play for, honestly, $18 is a lot for me a month, but for Ultimate Game Pass for some people, it's a fucking great value for a lot of games to play. So it really just, I feel like, depends on the kind of game you play. Honestly, at the end of the day, like
that's what
he
said. That's what Cuddle said. I think you guys are right. I mean, back in the day, it used to be, where do your friends play?
Yeah.
No, but now crossplay is more
And it should be
universal.
And it should be.
It's about what you want to play.
Yeah, honestly, Jeff, I even go so psychotic as saying there are certain games I like better with certain controllers, which are like single-player games I preferably prefer to play on a PlayStation controller. If it's a shooting game, I want to play on an Xbox controller. You know what I mean? So, and PlayStation always just ends up having a lot of single-player games, and that's kind of what they do. So, Xbox has. Listen, I'm telling you, I know it's multiplayer and single-player, but anytime a new Gears drops, the world stops for a moment because people love those characters. I do too.
Man, I hope we get a new Gears soon.
I would
Man,
love
Gears
to see a new
5, the
Gears
storytelling
now.
in Gears 5 was fucking like peak
I
storytelling.
would also love to see 343i get kicked out of Halo and bring somebody in that can actually care and do something right with it.
So, Tone, 2024 is coming up. Most anticipated game. I mean, we know some games are coming out, but I want to know, man, like what games are you most excited about in 2024? Are you looking forward to the most? I already know what it is, but let everyone know.
My number one main one is because it comes out right away in February is definitely Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second installment in the remake series. I actually pre-ordered my collector's edition or whatever it is. I don't buy a lot of hard copies these days, which is weird because I'm a big fan of hard copy, but I did for this because it's Final Fantasy. So, definitely looking forward to that. Last game posted.
I'd say for myself, really excited for Helldivers 2 to drop in February. I'm actually thinking about taking that Friday off to kind of get really into it. I know Brian
Your time off resets
MX is super. What's that?
by then. Your time off resets by then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I'm already looking forward to January 1st, dude.
Sick day.
Yeah, no, I'm really
Joes.
excited for Helldivers 2. I want to jump into that. And then the other game, finally, at the Game Awards, we saw a trailer saying that Hellblade 2 will be out in 2024 as well. And that is the other game I am really fucking excited about because Hellblade 1 was just a fucking incredible experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an assault on the senses in its
I need
presentation.
to play it.
The combat was intense. The story was fucking amazing. It was very emotional
So
and
good.
it was a deep game. And I'm really excited to see what Ninja Theory is. It Ninja Theory? I think it is Ninja Theory. What they're able to do to push that story and that game forward. I mean, in the trailers we've seen, it looks fucking awesome. So I'm really excited. So those are probably my two most anticipated games right now. But obviously, we don't know what else is coming out next year yet. We know the first couple months. I'm excited for The Last of Us Part 2 to get its upgrade so we can check out the roguelike mode. I really want to get into God of War and try out the Valhalla DLC.
I haven't touched that as well. I know.
There's a lot of shit that's out now, but yeah, 2024, I don't know, dude. I mean, is there NCAA football? I mean, there you go. Jay Hill knows. NCAA football, if that bitch drops and I get enough people, I will start an online dynasty. And Tone, there's a good chance you'll never see me again. Ever.
The worst things in life.
NCAA football 2024 will fucking change my life. The only thing, and I was talking to my cousin about this. I want to get Jay Hill's thoughts on this. I loved the last NCAA football game because we had an online dynasty, and all we had to do was worry about recruiting and playing the games. Am I going to have to sit there and fucking balance recruiting, the transfer portal, NIL deals, and all that shit now? Because I don't know if I'm ready for all that bullshit. But, I mean, if it's EA, if it's in the game, it's in the game. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, man. That's the only thing I'm going to be a little concerned about is if I have to sit there and fuck around with the transfer portal and NIL deals and things of that nature, that might add a little bit more depth. I mean, whatever happened to just good old-fashioned recruiting? Just recruit the players out of high school.
That's what I do every day.
You're a fucking scumbag. Your assistant coach got busted for 19. That's how my brother ran his program. He was disgusting.